Guess what camera this is? It's not a Sony. It's not a Canon. It is a Fujifilm. Can you believe it? Exceptional autofocus on a Fuji. Yes, this is the X-H2S. Just finally got it. I've been shooting an X-T4 for the past year, and before that I had the X-T3, and both are incredible cameras. I mean, for the time when they were released, I believe they were probably the best APS-C cameras that you could buy, hands down, all around, best hybrid cameras. And now in 2022, we have the X-H2S, which is an incredible package. I mean, if you're looking at something as like a extremely well-rounded camera with incredible video functions, this is very hard to beat. At this price point, $2,500 US as of November 13th, 2022. You can't beat this camera. Look at the specs. Secondly, you have a stacked sensor. I don't think people understand really how big of a deal that is, because stacked sensors are really in cameras like the Sony A1, you know, $6,000 camera, Nikon Z9, almost $6,000 camera, and the Canon R3. It's like a $5,500 camera, and now we have it in our Fuji X-H2S, and you know, now you have this incredibly fast readout speed. So I think there's a lot more that this camera can do, but we just don't have it yet because, you know, we're gonna have to wait for some updates, which, you know, Fuji is extremely well known for. So right off the bat, some of the things that I was absolutely blown away by is the low light capabilities of this camera. So as you know, 3200 ISO, you have your second dual native ISO that kicks in, and the image is super clean all the way up to like, you know, 6400, 8000 ISO. The image is extremely clean. And even if it's not, once you get up to like 10,000, you still have this like beautiful film grain. You don't have this blocky digital noise like you will see in Sony cameras. You'll see that even with the A7 IV. I had that camera a few months back. I ended up returning it because the high ISO noise it looked really bad. So that, secondly, the autofocus is tremendous. It has been improved by a lot. I mean, right now it's tracking me, this eye right here, and you can see that the little square is like stuck on the eye, and it's extremely good. It's so good. It's also very good in low light environments, which that is like the real test for any of these cameras. I'm going to say that the 4K 60 is flawless. I mean, we don't have a crop anymore in 4K 60 like we had in the X-T4, which was a 1.18 time crop in an APS-C format. Now there's no crop, and the 4K 60 is perfect. It's flawless. So the other thing, the 4K 120 looks really good. I'll have a sample that I'll upload to a link, and you can download that. It's 4K 120 looked really good. It wasn't soft. It just looked like a real good image, like a real good 4K image. The OpenGate 6.2K is, I mean, yeah, that image just looks like cinema. It just looks like a cinema, like something you would shoot with like an RE or like a Red. It looks like you could take that footage, put it on your TV, and just call Netflix and say, hey guys, here's incredible footage for you guys. It looks that good. I've been shooting everything with F-Log. F-Log 2 is something I'm not familiar with. I know it has it has more dynamic range. I don't know how hard it is to color grade. I have a sample that I'm going to upload as well, so I tested that. Other than that, I mean, the body is, the actual body of the camera is real solid. I mean, it's like a little tank. Not to say that the X-T4 wasn't like that. This is, you know, I would say a step up from that. Everything just feels more solid. I like the little side doors for the ports. They're really nicely set up, especially the HDMI port that just kind of like flops down. It's not like a solid thing, so that's nice. Another thing is that the body performed extremely well under you know, I would say decent temperatures. Like we were out last night, it was around, I don't know, 80, 85 degrees outside, and I didn't feel any overheating. The camera was warm to the touch, it wasn't hot. I was shooting everything in 4K 60 H.265 in 200 megabits per second. That's like kind of like a standard baseline of codec that I shoot with, and even with my X-T4 I was shooting like that. So now that I have ProRes, I'm definitely excited to try that out. I have the CF Express Type B card in here, and an Angelbird card, which is yeah, those are really good memory cards for this camera, and they're actually surprisingly, it was pretty cheap. It was like $180, and it was a 512 gigabyte card. It was a Angelbird. I'm gonna put a link in the description for exactly what type of card I bought. I know that the read speeds or write speeds aren't all that high, but the read speeds are really high on this card. But you know what? It was good enough to record 6.2K, open gate, ProRes HQ format, and yeah, so I think it can record anything. 4K 120 recorded no problem on the memory card. So yeah, in conclusion, I think that some of the drawbacks I would say about this camera is that if you're using a fat lens, like right now I have a 16 to 55 f2.8. This is by far my favorite lens for just all around. Even in low light environments, this lens performs extremely well. So the lens is like really thick. The barrel, the grip is really thick on this camera. So if you have like really big hands, your knuckle, this part of your knuckle, will sometimes touch the aperture ring. That's the only thing I don't really like. Other than that, coming from an X-T4, you just have to get used to the camera. There's no more cool dials on the top, but when you set, you know, when you program all your settings to, like, you know, your C1, C2, C3, I mean, the camera performs extremely well. I like the ISO dial on the top. You have a button for ISO dedicated, which is beautiful. Click the ISO, and then you just have a little wheel in the back that you just adjust your ISO levels. Shutter speed is in the front, and that's beautiful. That's really all you need. You got your aperture ring still. Yeah, I mean, everything is perfectly set. So one thing that I do appreciate a lot on this camera, which was kind of a problem for me with the X-T4, is that, so the X-T4 has, obviously, as you know, the dial on the top that kind of flips from your video settings to your photography settings. But when you set the type of focus that you want, right? You have your continuous autofocus and you have a single autofocus, and you have your manual, right? So, and that's a physical switch on the X-T4. If you set that to continuous, and then you flip over to photography, and if you try to take a picture, the camera will try to continuously focus. And that's bad, because obviously when you take a picture, you want one single focus, and locks in, and then you take the picture. Continuous, it kind of comes in and out, and a lot of the pictures will come out really bad. So sometimes if you're like running gun and you're doing a job and you're flipping back and forth, you'll forget that the camera is still on continuous autofocus, which it was when you were, you know, shooting your videos. With this camera, you set your setting to, right now I have everything C1 is my video settings, C2 is my photography settings, and when you switch over to C2, it's just a single point focus, which, you know, works out real well. So I never make that mistake. Yeah, so those are like my biggest, the biggest things that I really don't like about the camera. But you know what? It is what it is. I mean, the good parts about the camera far outweigh all the bad little parts that I've had to experience so far. Other than that, I do have a Atomos Ninja V, not a Plus, and I'm gonna try the ProRes RAW with this camera, so I'm really excited about that. I like that now we have a full HDMI port, and that's really exciting. Obviously, I mean, that's way more durable. Other than that, if you have an X-T4 and you're considering jumping to an XH2S, I would say that for video purposes, yes, do it. All day long, do it, because the camera is it is a much better video camera. Other than that, you know, same photography functions, just, you know, the burst rates are out of this world. I mean, it's tremendous burst rates. So really, when you look at it as a whole complete package, the XH2S is like, it's like a really good photography camera, especially for fast moving subjects, for, you know, if you're shooting wildlife, if you're shooting just anything. This camera can do it all. If you're looking at the video features, it's like it has everything. It has everything you want. It has the ProRes, all different flavors of ProRes, your standard H.265 in these ridiculous, high rates, all the frame rates you could possibly want. I mean, this is a camera I can see myself having for years down the line. So is it for me, I mean, all the features that it has are like professional grade features. So I think that overall as a package, I mean, it's extremely hard to beat, this camera. So yeah, I definitely wanna know what you guys think of the XH2S. If you guys have any questions, if you want me to test other things like the subject tracking, like right now it's tracking me beautifully. If you want me to test more, then yeah, I'll be happy to do that. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments. I hope you enjoy this. I'll be making more videos with the XH2S, just little almost little short films, kind of like what I did with my other videos that you see here. And yeah, hope you enjoyed this content. See you on the next one.